Howdy everybody, it's Jurston, and today I want to talk to you about another book review of all things. So let's go ahead and get started on that. And also there will be a link in the description of where you can find this great content at. This one is actually titled Francesco Augustine Bernadone, A Brief History of Our Tomorrows, and it has a very special place in my heart, not only because I know the author, but truly because it raises some interesting questions as a person of faith and what goes into faith and gaming or the gaming community and things like that, which no one really explores. So I think that's very, very interesting in terms of raising some theological questions about, is it ethical to participate in some of these things that we do within games? Is it ethical or godly or whatever it is to have these existential questions as we're just trying to have fun? And I think about that sometimes too. So I have a little story about how before I was converted to Christianity, I was playing a game called Metal Gear Solid 2. And the most efficient thing that I can do in Metal Gear Solid 2 was to just get rid of all the guards. So, one shot to the back of the head, after I would stick them up and everything, which sounds horrible when I say it like that. But one shot, I would play this game, and then I would get rid of the bodies, put them in a locker or whatever, So this all sounds horrible when you actually recap it. But anyway, I noticed that there's a difference in between how I played before I met Christ and then afterwards. So the way I played before was to be the most efficient as possible, which is, to get rid of all the guards. But then when I got saved, I actually began to knock them out, tranquilize them. I go through a very difficult game sometimes, or have a very, very difficult time, when I choose not to kill anybody. And you have to shoot them with tranquilizers, that takes forever, especially in Metal Gear Solid, the portable one on the PSP, not Portable Ops, but I forget which one it's called right now, so I had to give you a link in the description. But anyway, those games can be very, very difficult when you try to do it without, killing anybody. So, it's those kind of questions that I have even for myself, where I'm kind of like, why did I play differently? And I know that there are several people and tons of people out there who love Jesus, who love God, and they have no problem playing these kinds of games or getting involved in that kind of violence or whatever. I also know people who they cannot listen to rap lyrics that have a bunch of cursing and whatever in them. But also there's other Christians who don't mind that at all. But then there's other Christians where they have the opposite problem. So I have an opposite problem where one of my buddies, he can listen to a whole bunch of foul-mouthed stuff in terms of music, and I'm not able to listen to that kind of stuff. But when I'm watching something, I can watch a whole bunch of vulgar stuff, and my buddy will be like, no, I can't watch that, I can't deal with that. So it's really this kind of interesting question. So it's on Amazon for like $1. And I think that it's interesting too, in terms of, I would consider this to be kind of a Christian narrative, kind of Christian book, because I don't think that Christian literature or books or whatever should be relegated to this easy pie in the sky kind of thing. I think you should ask some difficult questions. So I consider this to be a Christian book. Of course, then again, may not want to listen to me. I consider Bad Lieutenant to be a Christian movie, because that genuine coming to Christ moment at the end of it, whew, devastating. But anyway, guys, that's my time. Definitely check it out. It's well done, well written, and I thought it was advancing some things that were really, really interesting. That I just loved every part of it. I really, really did. So aside from me knowing the author and things like that, I genuinely did enjoy this very, very much, and I hope that you guys too. There's some violence in the beginning of it, but it's not a matter of shock value, like, oh, look at what I can do. It's not anything like that. It pushes the narrative forward, and it's there for a purpose. So I don't mind violence in literature that's asking ethical questions in Christianity, if the violence or whatever it is there for a purpose. It's in the same way the Bible itself is written. It's there to show that you need a savior. But anyway, guys, that is my time. I don't want to sound too preachy or whatever. I'm just letting you know where I come from, my faith and things like that, and what I consider the saint to be. But I really, really loved it. Alright guys, that's my time. Bye bye.